Okay, here's what's up. Why men stuff things. Okay, picture this. Here's a heavy duty question. You're a child, you're a little child, okay? You're a little child, and all of a sudden your body becomes ready to make babies and ready to be enjoyed by somebody with pleasure. Okay? Your body fits like a puzzle. Fits like a puzzle together. Your body fits like a puzzle together with another person. In Hebrew, they've got that term ish and isha. Ish means the pointed, and isha means the one with the hole, the pierced, the pointed and the pierced. So in Hebrew, you're actually referring to yourself and your gender as your actual reproductive attribute. Oh, isn't that shameful? Oh, isn't that a problem? Like, go figure. We're surrounded by religious and spiritual peoples that just can't manage to talk about the most simplistic things. So, you picture yourself as a little child, all of a sudden, boom, your body has baby making ability. Boom, your body has pleasure ability. And if you're a female human being, you have to sort of deal with a special thing that begins happening. And if a male human being, you have to deal with a special thing that's happening. Now, the female human being gets a gift that seems like a problem and a curse because there's some pain and there's some blood and et cetera, et cetera. Remember, in the mammal world, only the female human being has bloody menses, a bloody flow. All the other mammals, the uterine lining is resorbed by the body. It's just, the body just like takes it in with enzyme energy and it just disappears and it goes away. It does not flow out in blood. So the woman gets a gift that seems like a curse, but it actually helps her communicate more because her reproductive superpower moment comes in a cycle. It comes in a predictable way. A woman has a predictable body reality. A man has an unpredictable body reality that is in his control. A woman has a predictable body reality that is in the control of God and what you would call Mother Nature, the flow, just the stuff. So the woman gets this gift that seems like a curse, but actually it forces her to talk with people more. Hey, I'm not going to feel good in a couple of days. I don't know if I want to go on this thing or that thing. You know, watch my back, help me out, etc., etc. In the Hebrew scriptures, the entire family in the community is actually called to take special care of the woman in her cycle for 14 days. The woman gets 14 days of extra kindness and extra care, and the kids do the chores and the men do the chores, and the women are treated super special because their body is where the babies come from. Their body is used as a carrier of the baby and the bringer of the baby and the feeder of the baby. Okay, so the woman gets a gift that seems like a curse, but in fact it causes her to communicate more. Not to stuff things, but to talk about things. Because, you know, bad stuff happens right around the corner. We better talk about the bad stuff that might happen. The woman is provisional because of her body. She has like an awareness of like, things go wrong, you got to plan ahead, etc., etc. Then the man gets this gift that seems like a cool present. Boink, the penis becomes big. Hey, it's interesting to play with. Hey, it looks really cool. Hey, I ought to share it with somebody. So we got to pray for the men because clearly, you know, they have a part of their body that sort of interrupts activity from time to time, not even when they have desire. And we have to pray and encourage and communicate with the men more because when you're walking down the street, you can't see any man that has an erection. So it's sort of like the most secret part of the whole human anatomy is in the man. We talk about the female humanity around the breakfast table. We talk about lactation and dilation and menstruation and all this other kind of stuff around the woman's body. The woman's body is like public domain, but the man's body is this big secret. Okay, the man's body is this big secret, and it gets big, and then it gets small, and it gets big, and it gets small, and he's got to deal with that stuff, and it's kind of strange and unusual. It's sort of fun, but it's a secret. It's not something that you are generally motivated to talk about, because now in this era of life, there is shame. That little fairy tale that you think of about the Garden of Eden, which to me is true, in the Garden of Eden, there was no shame, so when the man discovers his erection, there's no worry or concern or reason to hide it, and I'm convinced that there were arousal spirits that would come over both the male and the female, so there wouldn't be any confusion even about whether they wanted to be together at a certain moment. So, The man has both this penis that gets big and small and big and small and big and small, and then sometimes when he pays enough attention to it, it actually goes squirt. And the baby fountain happens, the fountain of generations, the fountain of blood and babies. Do not eat the blood because it has the life in it. In the Hebrew tradition, you really don't want to let that baby fountain flow unnecessarily, and that means that you should have a woman to flow with and enjoy that with. That's, peace and protectiveness, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, in the Garden of Eden, there wasn't going to be any of these problems. We were invaded by a spirit. It wasn't Adam and Eve's fault. First, they were invaded and enticed by a spirit, and they got tricked into, just going against the most loving spirit on the planet. What a shame. So the man has this secret. And the fact that when your physical body flows with the baby fountain, you kind of know deep inside the best place to flow is inside of a wonderful woman that enjoys you and loves you and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a certain point of sadness, there's a certain point of shame, and all of this stuff is hidden because none of it is in a cycle. None of it is planned. Okay, this is random stuff. It's like, oh, okay, all of a sudden I was overwhelmed by the pleasure of my body and I had this flow, and do I talk to somebody about it? Do I tell somebody about it? Do I tell somebody when I have an erection? That I share. Do I share it with someone? I mean, it's actually logical that men might become homosexually oriented because at least the guys might be able to understand and share the arousal. And I'm not justifying that, but I'm saying that, hey, if you're having a little trouble dealing with your pleasure and your arousal, it's a little bit easier to relate first to the ones that are just like you in the moments of exploration and wonder and trying to figure things out. So if we're not communicating about this stuff, and if we don't talk about how if you feel aroused, you should say, hi, God, thank you, I really like this body. Thank you, God, I like this body. I don't have a marriage bed right now. I do not want to share my body with someone else because I know that bad spirits come in around that stuff and get us stuck in those things. But I just want to say thank you for this body. Oh my gosh, it feels so good right now. And I just love you so much. Help me stay at peace and not be unnecessary in my feelings of arousal and keep my mind clean. So the male human being, though, when he releases his seed, he has this secret. In Leviticus 15, there is the quarantine laws, but the quarantine laws also have an emotional touch on the soul. The women have 14 days of peace. The men, every time they release the baby fountain, they are to tell the family and the workplace and the community. Remember, the Hebrew community is completely separate from the other world. They don't eat with Gentiles. Only the people that have been immersed in the love of the God of Israel and all of the various guidelines for family and community and individual and male and female, only the people that are in agreement with that are sort of fellowshipping together. So the male human beings are called to say, hey, I'm untouchable right now until the next sundown. I had my physical flow. And so in the family, you actually discover how often single men might have their flow. And we respect them and pray over them in the time from when they ejaculated until the next sundown. And I don't know all the details on that, but I tell you the truth. The Orthodox community has actually completely thrown that away. They focus on the mikvah. They focus on 14 days of not touching the woman. They focus on all this other stuff, but they don't even talk about the guy stuff at all. So the kids, the family aren't able to grow up with a loving understanding and a compassion toward the male human being who has this hidden little fountain that goes off. And it doesn't seem appropriate to tell anybody, but God has told the men to actually tell people. When God first crashed in on me, the most intense thing was I realized that when I was married, if I had gone and told my wife every time I had a flow of my baby fountain without her there, if I would go to her and say, hey, honey, I was full of arousal and excitement and my baby, our baby fountain flowed. This is our treasure that flowed out of me. Please hug me and hold me and pray over me a little bit because part of you flowed out of me. If I had done that, if I had not lived a hidden life that got worse and worse and worse, and it had pornography in it, and had we both had messed up relationship values, and we were in cinema and literature that was condoning all kinds of polyamorous type stuff before they even used the term polyamorous, alternative lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. In that whole atmosphere, hey, there's why men tend to stuff things. Because when the fountain goes off, there's nobody to tell, and it's a secret. And even if you're married, if that secret happens and you are not in the practice of sharing what's going on with your body, with that other body that is a part of your body, where you're one unit with two parts, then you're going to drift farther and farther and farther and farther and farther and farther away from that unity of the two parts that fit together like a puzzle. And that is the basis. That's the reason why men generally stuff things. And that's why I'm drawing attention to Leviticus 15 and the fact that there's Jesus and there's Rav Shaul. There's a bunch of commercial fishermen. Jesus picks out 12 people, okay? And he picks out some tax collectors who are like gangster mafia type people. He picks them out too. And they're all together, but they're not scholars. They're not steeped in the Word of God and the Hebrew Scriptures and the Tanakh and Torah. So you've got one super Jew, which is Jesus, who was perfect. And then you've got another person who calls himself a super Jew who followed all the rules perfectly. Now, guess what? Jesus' mommy and Paul's mommy both were following that rule of when the men in my family have their little baby fountain, squirt, squirt, then they are to tell the family and the workplace and the community, I'm untouchable right now. And however that work manifests, still, the mom and the dad know and see and understand the behavior of the physical body and desire and physiology of their kids. Because we as Gentiles and as Christians, I mean, I grew up in a Christian environment for the first 14 years, and then I quit it because I knew there was a bunch of stuff that was wrong. I was just a little kid, and I was like, this is all too big to understand. I can't figure out what's wrong. I'm just leaving, and I'm going to go seek my fortune and just be a person. So part of the primary reason why men stuff things is their secret little baby fountain, and the fact that it goes off, and they have this conscience about, like, I'm carrying this all on my own. And sometimes that's good because it causes a special contemplation and it causes a special humility. The reason why men really need to hear encouragement and words of honor and words of respect is because they know that they're kind of hopelessly a problem. And they sort of sin and they make this mistake over and over again. And so if somebody comes to them and say, look, you know, I disregard all of your evils and your foolishness. I think you're great at that certain job or this certain job. And it just makes them feel like they're sort of alive. A woman knows that she is supposed to be one flesh with a family, a father, a family team unit. And she is looking for family commitment, family commitment. She's trying to discern who around her life is giving her or sharing with her a family commitment. And if she feels that family commitment fading away, she is going to start hunting for another atmosphere of family commitment and a shelter. So that's a little overview of why men stuff things. You meditate on that stuff, read 1 Corinthians 7 and read Leviticus 15 and think about what that would look like in real terms. If you're married, fulfill your responsibility to that body of your spouse that gets aroused from time to time. That's partly your job. Thank you. Hi from Honesty Guy.